Is that song "Turn Me On"? I had another better off without anyone. I was wrong. How did you would stay? It's just about like the just being confused, and that's the sad situation. It's like I want you to stay. I want you to go. I want you to stay. I want you to go. And that's a reoccurring theme, I think, in a lot of my songs because I think that's how we all feel. You get into a situation of comfort and normality. And sometimes you'll accept these things that don't make you happy just so that you can stay in this comfort situation. Whereas if you would just be a little bit uncomfortable and you could jump over here, and yeah, this is confusing for a while, but you're like, I always call this halfway around the track. It's just if you stay this course, but it's always this pull that brings you back over here. And that's, I write about that a lot. What's up, guys? I'm Jaret Reddick from Bowling for Soup, and this is an oral history of a hangover you don't deserve. Like, the whole thing about Drunk Enough to Dance was we were at a club. We had just played a show. After the show, it turned into a dance party, and we found ourselves on the dance floor dancing. And so Chris said, we're drunk when we're drunk enough to dance, and that's how that thing came out. And so then Hangover You Don't Deserve, the title actually just came again from Chris coming out into the front lounge one day, and he's just holding his head and just like, oh, guys, just like, you ever get one of those hangovers, like a hangover you don't deserve? He's just like, I didn't really even drink that much last night. And I was just instantly like, oh my God, what a great follow-up to Drunk Enough to Dance, a hangover you don't deserve. I get asked a lot about the pressure to follow up Drunk Enough to Dance. I don't really know if I felt as much a pressure as just, I just had a real drive about me. The other thing is it was a different record, Hangover You Don't Deserve, because I had never done co-writes before. And Butch Walker and I had written Girl All the Bad Guys Want on Drunk Enough to Dance, and then later Punk Rock 101 and Laugh After Lisa. So those co-writes, I learned so much that I wanted to do more. And so I went out and did a lot more of that kind of thing during Hangover You Don't Deserve. And, it sort of helped relieve some of that pressure, and that like I felt like I had a team, almost. So I wrote a bunch of songs for that record, but I also wrote a bunch of songs for that record with a bunch of people. And of course, Butch and I would of course write Almost and Trucker Hat and a couple more on that record, I think. And but yeah, I really didn't feel the pressure until after Hangover You Don't Deserve, when it was just so massive. I felt the pressure really of following that up with Burrito more than I did Hangover. We had finished recording the whole record. We thought we were done. We had put, a month into it in Atlanta. Butch had produced 3 songs, and then we had just stayed in Atlanta and done the rest with his engineer, Rusty Cobb. And we were very happy with it. We thought it was great. I really thought Almost would be the first single. But then a phone call happens, and it's actually Butch Walker's manager. And he said, hey, man, I've been talking to Mitch Allen, who I knew from SR-71. He said, he's got this song. I think you should hear it. And I'm just like, okay. He sent it to me. And at first I'm just like, it's a good song. But I think one of the things about me that I don't really tell people a lot is I don't really know what a hit sounds like. I just think when the song's good, it's a good song. So I didn't immediately just know that 1985 was going to be this massive thing. But I listened to it. A bunch of times, and then it was just like, okay, well, the label seems happy about it. They had heard it by this point. But I was like, there's some subject matter in their version that I really don't think sounds like me. And, I'd really like to do a different kind of bridge thing. I just spoke to Mitch on the phone. I was like, are you cool if I just kind of make it more of a Bowling for Soup track? And he was like, man, do what you want. And the rest is history. I think it's a combination of it being such a massively great song, but also we just made the right video for it at a time when videos were still showing on television and things, which the song says, I would have never thought that it was going to be that huge. It was, definitely something where we were just like, this is crazy, because it was everywhere. I think lyrically it's one of those things where it doesn't really matter what generation you are, you're always going to be the uncool parent when you get to that point, So, that's the thing that people will come up to me all the time. They're just like, I am Debbie, and I'll just be like, "Hi, Debbie." I think that all of us can relate to that. I mean, I'm 47 and I'm in a band that does really well, and I'm a voice actor and am successful in those things as well. But still, talking to my 13 and 16-year-old kids, and even my 7-year-old sometimes, I can be pretty uncool, and so I just think that just happens. My kids just laugh at me, and then we move on to some Post Malone, who I do know who that is. And you know what? I get it. I sing along and everything. And then my kids will be like, "You know the words of this Post Malone song?" I'm like, everybody knows the words of this Post Malone song. Yeah, the second single was Almost. I just knew that one was going to be massive. And I really thought that with the success of 1985, that Almost would have been even that much more huge. But in the way that the radio world works, and especially worked back then, once you crossed into certain types of formats of radio, it was really hard to go backwards. And so 1985 had found its way into more of an adult type radio, and that's pretty much where the label concentrated almost on. So it did really well. I feel like it probably stood a chance in pop radio. It just wasn't something that they went for. But I love the song Almost. I mean, to me, I describe it as a Seinfeld episode because nothing happens. Like, everything almost happens. To this day is one of my favorite songs ever. I had definitely found a formula as to what I wanted us to sound like and how I wrote songs. The thing that I was still honing in on was it was really Drunk Enough to Dance when I started writing lyrics for real. You mentioned Cold Shower Tuesdays. I mean, that is a legit song. Like, that's from my heart. Like, I wrote that about someone specific who I chose being in Bowling for Soup over being with that person. And so I feel like that comes across in that song. And that was when I very first was able to really start like not being self-conscious about writing real stuff. In 2004, you had a bunch of other bands in our genre doing third and fourth records who were really changing their sound and experimenting with this and going these different directions, and I think that's awesome. I just never really thought we were that kind of band. Like, I feel like if we were to turn up and do a political record, people would be, I think they would think that we were being funny, Definitely writing from the heart by this time and really, meaning the stuff that I was saying, and focused in on what it was that, Bowling for Soup sounded like, and where our direction was as far as making you have a better day. My brother did get the fuck out of our hometown. He did. Yeah, it's so great too, because it was after that song, and he not only did he get out, he never went back. That song, my hometown, got me in a lot of trouble at home. They ran a whole article on it about how unappreciative Bowling for Soup was of Wichita Falls, Texas. And the funny thing about it is that, we didn't really get a lot of support in our hometown until we were gone and doing really well. And by then, the city of Denton had really adopted us and had really just, we felt like home there, and it was a place where they were proud of our band and all of that. We had some trouble with the press and stuff in this little town where we went, but that song is supposed to be a triumphant thing of like, go out and experience the world. I mean, we still have people there in Wichita Falls, friends of ours who leave to go on vacation, and they drive 2 hours to Dallas, and that's like their major trip, and what I'm trying to say in that song is go see the world and go and experience things, and if that's the kind of life that you want to live and be in the small town and work there and be that's fine. But there is this whole big earth out there, and also I was trying to encourage my brother to get the fuck out of there, and he did. I don't really think I gave up too much on that record. No, I mean, I feel like with everything lyrically that I've ever done, and I'm sure this sounds silly coming from me if you're watching this and you know who our band is, and you're just like, there's no substance to what these guys do. Like, they're just a hilarious band, and they sing about farts. But if you really break it down or go and listen to the acoustic versions of the songs, like there really is a lot going on in there, and yeah, I don't really. I think I've always revealed just enough. The Saloon breakdown in Ohio was, and don't get me wrong. I think that we did good. I think we did a good job of expanding in the world of recording and learning to do things, and by then we were doing the bleep bleeps and the bloop bloops, as we call them, because it's just like when you add just like keyboard parts underneath that nobody else will ever hear, but it's there. So like my ear goes right to it when I hear it. It's just like the thing that's going on in the background of some chorus that, again, it's just a texture thing you'll never hear. But yeah, so when the Ohio thing, when we got to start making that thing and making that breakdown, the idea was to literally make the song just stop and like convert the entire feel of it to a Saloon. We did a really good job, I think. I mean, it does sound like we're doing that. We're in like a big bar room area, and there's, a lot of people in there and bottles clanking and things like that. But we weren't. We were just. It was like 5 of us it was us and Rusty. Oh, and this kid Sean, who worked on the record, just in there, just making noise and singing along and having a good time. We actually had a song called Surf Colorado. This song is actually about that girl, but that girl actually had gone to Surf Colorado. She married an attorney, basically moved on with her life. And so when I was referencing her again in my brain to do the song Ohio, I couldn't say Colorado again, and I just needed a state or a place. And so the guy that I referenced in my hometown, the professor who said charisma is the key to opportunity, was actually my theater arts teacher in high school, and he was very instrumental in me, like, instead of like running away from being different and funny and artistic or whatever, and trying to just kind of fit in, because it was kind of a town that I grew up in where that really there was no real way to expand that kind of thing. Anyway, his name was Leland, and so I just thought it would be fun to reference him again. So I picked Leland, and Cleveland rhymed with Leland, and that is how we came to Ohio. And so it was all written backwards. The whole, she said she needed a break, a little time to think, and then I was just like, she went to Cleveland with some guy named Leland, and that led us into Ohio. So there was never a girl that came to Ohio. And I don't want to break anybody's heart, but and also the thing is, I didn't actually know that it rained a lot here. There's nothing wrong with Ohio except the snow and the rain. That was just a leap of faith, and so thank God it worked out. And also, I've never been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame still. I think Bowling for Soup is one of those bands that, we're just regular dudes. We're like those dudes that are up on stage, and you're like, I could fucking do that, it just feels like you're hanging out with your friends. And that's always been our vibe, like, just, treat everybody amazing, make it to where, like, everybody's just, your buddies. I think the staying power comes from just being consistent, trying to put out good stuff. When we started to have, internal trouble, and mostly just because of personal stuff, divorce, depression, anxiety that hit me a few years ago, almost broke up the band. But instead of letting that drag us down, we took a break and came back stronger than ever. I guess I would pat us on the back a little bit with that and just attribute a lot of the staying power to us just being consistent and making sure that we're putting the right things first, which are, ourselves and our health and our families and our fans. And then, everything else, you just make sure that you're putting out a good product. I look back on that record, it was just so much fun. We were just, riding high, and everybody was great. And not that it still isn't. So I don't know. It means a lot to me that it means a lot to so many people. I will say that, because I always expect fans, the hardcore fans, where they're like, I've been listening to you for 20 years. I just assume the next thing out of their mouth is going to be like, Drunk Enough to Dance is my favorite album. So when I hear A Hangover You Don't Deserve is my favorite album, it always makes me smile, because I'm proud of that one.